Hello, hello, welcome back. I'm Michelle with Dipped in Sparkles. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are doing a real-time video with foils. I have a couple swatches here. I'm going to show a couple of different methods. I have my little list next to me. I'm going to start with base coat on a swatch. I just did this with the black, and foils do bleed. They're known for their bleeding, but it also has a pretty unique look. So I'm actually just dipping into the jar. This is definitely a messy process. And then I'm just kind of sort of patting, trying to keep as much of the excess flowing back into the jar as possible. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna leave that one. Then, like I said, a little bit messy. The next one we're going to do is we're going to place the foil. So this is dipping the foils. I just did base coat and I put the swatch right in there. These jars are not filled by volume. They're just 1 teaspoon. So some of them are not all the way full. So you do have to get a little creative with the angles, but I think it's worth it. Moving on to green. They do also have a difference in sizes of the foils. There is some variety. I do these by hand, so they're not all identical, and some of them have different consistencies a tiny bit. But just to be aware, they do vary. Okay, so for the green one here, I have 2 placing ideas. Okay, clear swatch and base coat. I'm gonna go a little bit thicker on this base coat because I want it to stay wet for just a little bit longer so I can place foils. I have my fan on. That's probably not the greatest idea that I've had. I'm gonna go straight for the tweezers and just place maybe right there and right there. And then I'm not gonna touch that at all. I'm just gonna leave that and let it dry. Okay. Now, let's move to the other side. I have this swatch here. This is Twizzlers. The red from the Glitter Flake Neon, I just activated and filed the edges. And I'm going to go with black. And let me get a towel. Make sure I don't transfer colors between colors. Okay. Now I'm gonna take my base coat. Again, this is 2 dips. I activated and I filed the edges. Again, I'm going a little thicker on the base coat so I have a little more time to play. Am I in frame? I'm sort of in frame. Sorry about that. All right. Go in with tweezers. Trying to do a little design here. And you can do this in more than one round too. As we get to the next step here, you can go back and do a second base coat and a second layer. But I'm just gonna call that a little touch right here. Probably don't recommend doing this with the fan on, but I like an adventure. Okay, I'm gonna pop back over to the blue. All right, not too much. The more you do it, it will take off a little bit with this firm brush, but I kind of like a little bit of texture to it, so you can always only use a soft brush. Okay, base coat. And remember, foils are known for bleeding. And then I'm just going right into clear. Bump the camera. Okay. And we'll let that one set a minute. Let's see. I want this to be dry before I start. Definitely recommend you close your foils. Use one foil at a time so they're not blowing into each other. All right, foils are super thin, so you don't have to pat them down after you put them on, because even a light brushing and everything's going to be laying flat for you. Just checking how dry this is. I'm going to go ahead, pop this into a clear. I am using a special clear for this because it's making a bit of a mess, but I feel like the end process is worth it. All right, so now that that's dry, dipping it in the clear like I just did without adding any base, the clear stuck to any little bits that were still wet. So basically I dried it off quicker. And I'm going in with base on swatch number 2. So remember that foils bleed. So when you do your base, you want a very light touch and to do what's called floating the base, which means that the brush, tip of the brush is not actually touching the nail bed. The liquid is just barely being dripped on almost. Not dripped. Don't put that much on your brush. All right, topped and clear. Okay, coming back to this one. Normally I would let this dry more, but don't want to keep you waiting, and this clear is already designated for this purpose. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. Here we go, should be dry now. Design is interesting. It's not as cute as I thought it was going to be, but you get the idea. Base coat and clear top. Same pattern. And definitely wipe your brush off after you touch any foils. I have a designated liquid for this, but just be cautious. So that's pretty much it. After this, I'm gonna let them dry all the way, and then anytime you dip and clear, you need to scrub before you activate. I think this one's dry, so I'm gonna just do this one. I always check, make sure I'm not lifting any powder by scrubbing. It has to be dry. Can you guys see that? So it makes this really cool effect. Here's a black. I did the black dipping, and I activated in top coat. I'm realizing now the lighting's not catching it. I'm gonna include some photos at the end, but again, thank you so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful in some way. If it was, please subscribe to our channel, turn on the notifications, and if you would like to leave in the comments an idea for another video, let me know what you'd like to see. Alrighty, thank you. Bye. Hi y'all, I'm back again. Okay, I forgot a couple of things, and I figured you could stare at the beautiful swatches while I tell you. So you can bleed the foils on purpose to create a marbling effect. Twilight is probably my most popular dip that happens to most easily. And then the second thing is, instead of dipping in clear, you can do that base coat layer and let that dry, and that will count as your barrier against bleeding. All right, I think that was all I missed. Thank you again so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.